Hello and welcome to Your Health Matters on Sun 20 TV. I'm Shari Einhorn. We have a great show for you today and our topic is weight loss and heart health. Joining me now, my first guest, please welcome Jessica Swiatocha. Jessica, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Manager of Wellness Services and Cardiopulmonary Rehabilitation, the only one certified on the South Fork and was the first to be certified on the East End.
Correct.
Yes? That's a big deal, especially folks on the East End. Access to healthcare has been an issue we've talked about a lot over the years. So we're going to start with, what is cardiopulmonary rehabilitation?
So that's a over-encompassing description of rehabilitation that we do for cardiac patients, pulmonary patients, and recently we've added in vascular rehab, so peripheral vascular rehab. So we really help patients at the next step. So they've been discharged from the hospital, or they've had a recent event or any type of setback or chronic issue that they're not getting over. They come to us and we're their next step. So it's an outpatient program. Patients come in, they get an evaluation. Typically, it's a 36-session program, depending on insurance. But it's a great program. It's very all-encompassing. We have a interdisciplinary team. So we have registered nurses, we have respiratory therapists, physical therapists, exercise physiologists, dietitians, and it's a great program for patients to come to after they've had a multitude of different procedures.
And so sort of take us through how it works, like, you know, start to finish, with the understanding that it's a different length and I'm sure a unique program for each patient.
Yes, yeah, we do customize the program for everybody, and that's what actually makes it so nice for the patients, because it really is tailored to meet their needs. But holistically, they come in for an evaluation after they get a referral from the doctor's office, or some patients are self-referred. We also go see patients after certain diagnoses that they're admitted in the hospital. We'll introduce ourselves if the doctor's referred them in-house. So we try to really kind of keep the program full circle so that they're not left hanging when they leave the hospital. So when they come in to see us, they have an evaluation. And we assess what their needs are from an exercise standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a nutritional standpoint. We kind of meet them where they're at, see what they're doing as far as exercise program at home, and then come up with an individualized treatment plan for their various needs. So whether it's cardiac, pulmonary, PAD, so we'll come up with a program, and the goal is that they really tend to progress very well through the program and reach their goals as well as our goals for them at discharge.
And they're going to you if they're able to, and then...
Yes.
Okay.
So they come in, so it's a typical program is 3 times a week at our facility that's located at the hospital. So they come in for an exercise session, and it is mainly based on exercise. Our cardiac patients wear a heart monitor. Our pulmonary patients we're checking their oxygen saturations as well as their heart rate and their blood pressure. And same thing with the peripheral vascular. We're assessing their vital signs during their exercise to make sure that we're gauging their exercise appropriately and they're responding appropriately. So our team of nurses, actually our nurses are certified in cardiovascular care. Our program, as you mentioned, was certified program for the past 15 years we've been certified. So we were the first on the East End to get certified, and we've continued that certification. So that means that we're meeting our benchmark for national standards.
Can you talk about, so it's 3 times a week focused on exercise there. Is it the kind of thing where they're supposed to be doing stuff at home as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. We definitely encourage our patients to implement a home exercise program. Really, we're serving as a bridge. They're with us between 3 and 4 months. So at the end of the program, the goal is that they're implementing the program that we're starting with them in the center and then bringing it home. A lot of our patients do take the opportunity to do our graduate work, which is signing up as a self-paid gym membership, really. But you're exercising in the gym with trained professionals. So should there be an issue, we're here to help. So a lot of patients do take advantage of that program, and we do even have some patients that might not have significant issues related to their heart health or their lungs or their vascular system, but they want to come in preventatively, and they come in and they see us, and they take advantage of that program as well.
Do you run into an issue where, there's accountability when you go to a facility
Yes.
and you're working with a therapist of whatever kind or a nurse to tell you to do the exercises? There's not so much accountability when you're at home by yourself.
Yes. So kind of falling off the wagon a little bit. A lot of our patients, I think that's what they like a lot. The most about coming in to our facility. They have the accountability. They also have the supervision if they're nervous, so that's another component. But the other component of it is they have that camaraderie, and that actually kind of keeps them coming in and draws them in. So I think that's a really important part that you're not going to get at home on your own, and developing that camaraderie of patients that have had similar issues. Whether it be, maybe somebody met somebody that had a heart attack 5 or 10 years ago, and they're like, oh, well, you're this far out. How are you doing? How have you managed with X, Y, and Z? So they really have a good support system and camaraderie built in.
Yeah, I want to touch you mentioned the nervousness. I would imagine that if someone especially had a cardiac event, they might be super nervous about starting some fitness plan. Can you address how you guys address that?
So there is a significant part of our patient population that will come in and they're nervous to do anything. We actually have two extremes, so I'll address both.
Yeah.
So the patients that come in that are very nervous to do too much or anything on their own, all of our patients are wearing a heart monitor. So we see how their heart's responding. We are checking their blood pressures, their heart rhythms, their heart rates. And that's allowing us to kind of give them that encouragement, like what you're doing here is safe. And then we encourage the same levels, and we address what levels are they're doing at home. So they're able to then feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. We also have the other extreme, which they feel like, oh, they fixed my problem and I'm good, which is they are good, but they think that they can then go do whatever, and it might be a little bit too much. So those people we kind of try to scale back a little bit because we don't want them doing too much. So it's interesting, the two different extremes.
And who typically? So what kind of young, old, anyone that's having an issue that relates to?
Right? But we have a very vast array of patients. Our youngest patient that we ever had was 26, and our oldest patient that we've ever had was 99, start with us.
Wow.
So we have a very broad array. Typically people that are affected by heart disease and pulmonary disease and vascular disease, they're advancing in their age, but there are certainly people that we've had that are younger. Certain diagnoses like pulmonary fibrosis affects very young people, so we have patients with those diagnoses. People that have heart valve and other heart issues can be young, but they can also be older as well.
You mentioned the typical length of the program. I think you said 36 weeks?
36 sessions.
36 sessions. Yeah. Okay. Oh, but 3 a week.
Yes.
Usually. Okay. And if there's a need, and obviously related to insurance, does anybody go through the program an additional time?
Yes, we do have some patients, and it all really depends on insurance. But the typical program is, as you said, it's 36 sessions. We do have some patients that might need additional visits because they've had complications that are something that we've picked up during this the treatment that they've been receiving that we think should be extended. At some points we are able to do that. At other points, the patients might need more supervision, and the doctor will approve it. So it really depends, or if they have a new qualifying diagnosis.
And how do people find out about the program? You did mention you'd go into rooms when people are still in the hospital before they're discharged. Talk to me about the importance of continuity of care, because I think for a lot of people, especially they're dealing with cardio, or heart health issues, it's like you don't want to drop off, right? You want to be super careful.
We are very lucky. We have great relationships with the cardiologists, the pulmonologists, and the vascular doctors out here, and also in the city. as well, because we've worked with a lot of different patients really all across to Long Island, and depending on if they're out here for the summer or whatnot. But we really do have a really good working relationship with the physicians, so we're in constant communication. So the physicians are very aware of our services. Patients, we're always encouraging patients. It doesn't just have to be the doctor referring to us. The patients can certainly pick up the phone, call us. We'll coordinate everything with the doctor's office so that it's easy for them to come in and it's one less stress for them because they have a lot on their plate. So we do try to have continuity of care with the doctors, and then when they're done, we send them a progress report, and if they have any doctor's appointments, we're certainly in communication with them. We send them all the information that they would need for their doctor's visit.
So I think you answered my next question already, but it was, how does someone sign up for the program? Do they have to be coming from a hospital facility or no?
No.
Talk about that.
So some patients, they just might be struggling at home and they might not have necessarily had a recent event. Say they might have, like for example, certain diagnoses like congestive heart failure. You might be in the hospital, but you might be struggling at home and the doctor identifies that need, or maybe you're identifying the need, like I need some help. So patients can call themselves, they can definitely get the referral from the doctor's office, or like you mentioned, we can also see them in the hospital and directly reach out to them there. But they really can do it a multitude of ways.
Okay, heart health is so important. I just want to ask you, do you have one tip, or more than one, people who really just want to improve their heart health? Maybe they have not, thankfully had any serious issues, but what's like an easy fix or something that's easy for people to do?
Just one thing.
You could do three.
I would say, just staying active, even as we age. I'm really inspired by some of our patients. If I'm tired and I've gone to work all day and I really don't feel like doing anything, and I'm like, you know what, Joe Smith came in and did a 45-minute workout, and he's 88. I think I can go do something, but really just staying active, because if you don't use it, you lose it. So that's our motto for a lot of our patients. Like, is if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Right.
So that's one big thing, and then we're really big on encouraging whole foods. So really trying to eat whole foods that are really going to encourage heart health and not really a processed diet. So those would be my two tips.
And just to be clear, I think people get nervous when you say be active. It doesn't mean run a marathon.
No.
Maybe it means doing some extra walking, go up and down the stairs. You don't need a gym membership.
Yes. And, like even when I was coming in here, I ran into somebody I knew, and she's like, oh, I'm hopping on the elevator. Do you want to ride? I'm like, I'm going to take the steps.
Okay.
So very simple things. And some people think that I don't have the time. I don't have a full hour to dedicate to getting my cardio in. You can do cardio in certain little bursts, like taking the stairs or parking far away and walking to the into the grocery store. So just little things like that can help add a little bit of heart health to your life.
And the same thing with the food, right? Small changes.
Yes. And we always tell people to, which I know our registered dietitian is going to probably speak about as well, but there's a lot of different theories. I always tell people the 80-20 rule. So try to follow, a heart healthy diet 80% of the time, maybe even 90 if you can really do it.
Right.
And then don't feel like you're failing if you slip up now and then. So it's just constantly, just trying to refocus, and if you mess up, it's not a big deal. You just get back on the wagon.
Terrific. Jessica Swiatocha, thank you so much. Great information. We have another terrific guest right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Your Health Matters on Sun 20 TV. I have another fantastic guest joining me. We're talking with Angela Knuppel, who has a master's degree in nutrition, does a lot in the health and fitness fields. Really important topic for a lot of people, right? So can you just start with how important is nutrition? What are some tips you would give someone who's looking to improve their heart health? Because that's what we're talking about today.
So the first thing to remember really is that fruits and vegetables, whole grains, anything that's going to be coming from the earth or whole. That's really what our diet should be focusing about. Less of those processed foods. Anything that comes in a package or a box really is just not the best choice for us. So we want to be eating as much fresh fruits and vegetables as possible, or frozen if the fresh is not available, because anything else is going to have a lot of sugars, salts, hydrogenated oils that are added to that, and that in turn is going to affect the heart.
So we hear a lot about that, right? Eating whole foods, that's what you're talking about. So can you give people just like some examples of things? Because I think there might be a little confusion about that.
Right, so I'm not speaking on like eating the whole, potato,
Right.
It's really things that come from the earth. So fruits, vegetables, as much as you can, what we call whole grains. So a white product such as white bread, white rice, that has a lot of processing that happens to the grains. So they're not going to give your body as much nutrients as something that is more wholesome. So like oats, rolled oats, that's going to be a better choice than like your quick oats, because the quick oats has more processing to it. So you want to eat things that are basically as least amount of processing, as possible. That's what we mean by wholesome or whole foods.
And so you did mention though, sometimes folks don't have access
Correct.
to whole foods, or they don't have the money, because sometimes eating healthy does cost more than eating processed foods. So how do you find a balance? What's a good balance? Not everybody can eat organic.
Correct.
Or whole foods, whole fruits and vegetables.
So organic can be very costly.
Yes.
So if you can't go organic, then we say, try just for fresh fruits and vegetables. If you can't get fresh, then we say go frozen. And then if you can't go frozen, then canned would be okay. But canned goods usually have a lot of salt in them, which again, that's not good for heart health. So we at least would say rinse them. So before you use them, you want to be rinsing them very well, so that we get a lot of that salt off of it. So it doesn't always have to be organic.
Can you talk about some specific diets that are really good for heart health, and how do people follow those? What are the diets?
Okay. So a lot of times we hear Mediterranean diet. So this comes up a lot because it's focusing on eating a lot of fish, which has a lot of omega-3s, leaner proteins. So when we talk about lean proteins, it's going to be your poultry, like your chicken or turkey, and less of your red meats that have higher saturated fat contents. The Mediterranean diet is also focusing on a lot of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and a little bit of physical activity. So in my practice, I don't like to specify a specific diet for somebody, because then we get into this, well, it has to be
Right.
A, B, C, D, and not everybody can follow that. And or you might have things that are metabolically going on in your body that you are not going to be able to stick to a specific diet. So I just like to recommend something that's going to be, number one, something you can stick to, and as wholeful as possible. So back to that, you want to be eating as much whole grains, fruits, vegetables as you can in your budget, in your ability. So it's not going to always be this perfect like Mediterranean type diet that you see.
Can you talk, I like what you said. So you can't just say, do this, for whatever the reason, whether it's finances, time, preparation, access, whatever. But where does taste come into play? Because if somebody is used to white bread, white rice, white mashed potatoes, switching really your palate, it takes a little while to
Right.
adjust, right? So can you address that?
Yeah, so sometimes switching everything at one time is just a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
So maybe we work on just this week, we're going to switch our bread. So we're going to switch from white bread to a more whole wheat bread. Sometimes a lot of people I find don't like that seediness to bread. So we go with maybe just a light wheat. Again, it's not always going to be perfect, but
Right.
sometimes switching half of the things that we're used to eating is better than switching none of the things that we're used to eating.
And I know, I don't remember the number, but people say like when you try a new food, like when you're trying to get kids to try new food, I'm making up the number, let's say it was 20 times, or it was some large number that before you can actually make a difference. Do you talk to clients about that as well?
Yeah, so it's usually about 10 times, and I usually recommend that they try it different ways. So you're going to bake it, you're going to boil it, you're going to do different seasonings to it, maybe you're going to grill it. Sometimes we want the vegetables raw, sometimes we want them cooked, because you may like it. You don't know. You might find that you hate it raw, but you really like it cooked, or vice versa. So I usually tell patients to not only try the vegetable 10 times, but now you also have to try it cooked different ways as well.
And when you're talking with patients, are they coming to you because like they had a heart issue and they're kind of at a point where they're like, okay, I really need to change it, or are they trying to be proactive, or is it a mix?
It depends. Sometimes it's a mix. A lot of the clients come in they want to lose weight, and then we delve into their blood work, and it's like, oh, you also have high cholesterol, or I see you're on a cholesterol medication, and then we can sometimes then go about addressing a lot of the heart healthy practices. And or sometimes it's reversed. They come in, they've had a heart attack, and now, oh, I really had this severe life change. I need to make some changes to my diet and lifestyle.
And what about exercise and water, drinking water, right? How does that play in?
So water is very important in general just for hydration, but it also keeps the heart hydrated so that the heart's not working as hard, which in turn is going to be lowering your blood pressure. Also, it's going to keep that salt down in your body. If you are eating a lot of salt, will help secrete some of that salt in your urine. So again, helping that blood pressure stay more stable, or going from, being elevated to, way out of control. So the hydration part is very important for that, as well as kind of trying to just drinking more water. Sometimes you're not hungry, you're just thirsty. So sometimes we eat because we're thirsty, so that also helps keep down the amount of food that you're eating.
The amount of water has changed over the years. So where are we at nowadays? What should you strive for?
So again, that's another thing that I don't like to give a hard set recommendation on, only because sometimes you may have heart disease where you're on a fluid restriction.
Understood.
Okay. So that would be something that you would want to discuss with your doctor or a registered dietitian. But for healthy people, we are aiming for at least 64 ounces for an adult a day.
So that's like 8-ounce glasses.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, that's just something that you would want to discuss with, your healthcare provider.
Okay. And is that for healthy people? Again, you want to check with your healthcare provider to make sure you're not doing something dangerous.
Correct.
But is that something that you find is attainable for people?
In the beginning, no. So I find that thirst a little bit. If you're not used to drinking water all day long, you're feeling like this is too much and I'm full. But over time, if you're kind of just like keeping a water bottle at your desk or, wherever you are, that you're taking smaller sips throughout the day, eventually you're kind of like craving that water.
Gotcha. Okay. And talk about exercise, what the impact exercise has on weight loss and heart health. Obviously, we know there's a connection there.
Correct. So, obviously, exercise is going to be burning some calories. So in turn, that will be aiding in some weight loss at most of the time. But cardiovascular exercise such as running, biking, walking, swimming, that is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck for your heart. So it helps your heart. Again, the heart rate is going to be lower at rest and the blood pressure is going to be lower at rest. So your heart is not working as hard at rest, and that's actually giving your heart a little bit of a break. So the exercise is going to help your heart it exercises your heart. It's teaching your heart to kind of slow down rather.
And I'm guessing your answer is going to be similar if I ask this next question, but I'll ask it and you can explain it a little. So there's no set number of minutes you should be doing, like a high level rate of cardio exercise. It would depend on the person, but
correct.
And when you're talking walking, running, whatever, a lot of people say, I don't have an hour to do this, I don't have time. So what realistically are you talking about?
So there's like two different ways to kind of think about it. 30 minutes usually is the goal to do some type of cardiovascular activity. You want to get your heart rate up. It should be something that makes you a little bit out of breath, but enough that you could still speak a little bit. You don't want to be panting. If you can't do 30 minutes at a time, then they're recommended that you will do like in 10-minute intervals. So you may walk for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes on your lunch break, and 10 minutes after dinner. To kind of split it up, but it also will ensure that you're still doing some type of physical activity. So it is always better to do something rather than to just do nothing.
And your advice to people who maybe feel like, I haven't really done anything, I don't know where to start, so I'm just going to put it off.
My advice would be I will give you 3 tips. Is 1, to buy a water bottle and start just kind of taking sips throughout the day of that water bottle. 2 would be to try and increase your steps. So again, it might not be this 30 minutes at a time, but just throughout your day, maybe trying to just be a little more active, maybe walk to the further bathroom at your job or park a few spaces, further away from the building. And also just to try and add more fruits and vegetables in your diet.
And also fiber, right? We should be doing a lot of fiber.
A lot of fiber. So fruits and vegetables have what we call insoluble fiber, which is going to help you stay more full. But whole grains, oatmeals, brown rice, whole grain bread has something called soluble fiber. So for those people who have high cholesterol, this is beneficial because it binds to the cholesterol molecules in the body, and then it will be excreted in the feces. So it will actually help your body get rid of or lower your cholesterol levels by increasing that fiber in your diet.
And can you just explain for people who maybe have never thought about heart health, maybe they don't have a family history, maybe they don't know anyone, maybe it's not top on their priority list, why should it be?
So your heart is basically one of the main components in your body, right? Without our heart beating, we are not surviving. So we really want to take care of our heart. It is a very important muscle in our body. And just like we're taking care of, any other parts of our body, it should be a priority to make sure that we're maintaining heart health so that later on down the road, we don't, have problems. So plaque does not just build up overnight, and that is something that I think a lot of people, when they do have their heart attacks or they go in and they have a heart issue, they say, well, I didn't feel it. So you're not going to feel the stress that your heart has kind of been going through. It's kind of silent, and then one day it becomes a problem. So even though they may not have had a problem in the past, or they might not feel something happening, that inflammation in their body is building up, and just trying to switch a few things around in their diet and their lifestyle could really make a big impact.
So you should start thinking about it when you're younger.
Correct.
Do
Yes.
people start thinking about it when they're younger?
Not necessarily, no. It's usually, at the point where they've had an event where either they've witnessed some type of cardiac, fluttering. Sometimes they're feeling like anxious or their blood pressure is really high.
Yeah.
But it's something that we all should really start thinking about a little bit earlier in life.
Gotcha. Okay. Angelica, thank you so much for all of that helpful information. Really great information. Thank you for joining us. You're watching Sun 20 TV. Have a great day.
Funding for Your Health Matters is provided by Stony Brook Southampton Hospital. As part of the Stony Brook Medicine Healthcare System, Stony Brook Southampton Hospital is committed to providing world-class academic-based medical care to our entire East End community.